Welcome to my channel, where we explore the hidden stories, history, and value of U.S. coins that many people use every day but rarely truly understand. If you love coin collecting, old money, and discovering which coins might be worth more than face value, then you are in the right place. Today's video is all about 4 interesting Jefferson 5 cents coins that many collectors overlook, but each one has its own unique background and importance. So sit back, relax, and let's begin our journey into the world of American 5-cent coins. Let's start with the 1974 5 cents coin. The 5 cents 1974 coin, commonly known as the 1974 Jefferson nickel, is a regular-issue United States coin that reflects an important period in modern American numismatics. This coin belongs to the long-running Jefferson nickel series, which was first introduced in 1938 and continues today. By 1974, the design had already been familiar to Americans for decades, yet the coin still carried historical, economic, and cultural significance that makes it interesting for collectors and coin enthusiasts around the world. The 1974 5-cent coin was minted during a time when the United States was dealing with major economic challenges, including inflation, rising metal prices, and changes in everyday spending habits. Unlike earlier nickels made during World War II, which contained silver, the 1974 nickel was struck in a copper-nickel-clad composition consisting of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This alloy had become standard for nickels since 1946 and was chosen for durability, cost efficiency, and resistance to wear. The coin weighs 5 grams and has a diameter of 21.21 millimeters, with a plain edge. These specifications make it consistent with most Jefferson nickels produced after World War II. On the obverse side of the 1974 nickel appears the left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and the principal author of the Declaration of Independence. The portrait was designed by sculptor Felix Schlag, whose design won a national competition in the late 1930s. Jefferson's calm and dignified expression symbolizes intellect, leadership, and democratic values. The word liberty appears to the right of Jefferson's profile, followed by the date 1974. A small star separates the word liberty from the date, a design element that has been part of the Jefferson nickel since its introduction. The phrase, "In God We Trust," is placed along the left edge of the coin, reinforcing a motto that appears on most U.S. coinage. The reverse side of the 1974 5-cent coin features Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's famous Virginia home. This neoclassical mansion was designed by Jefferson himself and represents his architectural vision, scientific curiosity, and personal legacy. The image of Monticello on the nickel is detailed, showing the building's dome columns and steps. Above Monticello appears the word Monticello, while below it is a denomination 5 cents. Along the bottom rim of the coin is the inscription United States of America. This reverse design, also created by Felix Schlag, remained in use from 1938 until 2004, making it one of the longest-running reverse designs in U.S. coin history. In 1974, Jefferson nickels were produced at 2 main United States mint facilities, Philadelphia and Denver. Coins minted in Philadelphia do not carry a mint mark, while those struck in Denver feature a small D mint mark on the obverse, located to the right of Jefferson's portrait near the date. There was no San Francisco circulation strike for nickels in 1974. However, the San Francisco Mint did produce proof coins for collectors. These proof nickels were specially struck with polished dies and planchets, resulting in sharp details and mirror-like surfaces. Proof coins were not intended for circulation and were sold as part of annual proof sets. The total mintage of the 1974 5-cent coin was very high, reflecting strong demand for circulating coinage during that era. The Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of nickels, and the Denver Mint struck a similarly large quantity. Because of these high mintage numbers, the 1974 nickel is generally considered a common coin in circulated condition. Many examples can still be found in everyday change, especially in worn or moderately circulated grades. Despite its common status, the 1974 Jefferson nickel can still be of interest to collectors, particularly those who focus on date and mint mark sets, high-grade coins, or era varieties. In circulated condition, most 1974 nickels have minimal monetary value above face value. However, coins in uncirculated condition, especially those with strong luster, sharp details, and no visible wear, can command higher prices. The value increases further for coins graded by professional grading services in higher mint state grades. Proof versions of the 1974 5-cent coin are more desirable to collectors due to their limited production and superior finish. These proof coins typically display deep mirrored fields and frosted design elements. Well-preserved proof nickels from 1974 are often collected as part of complete proof sets or as individual examples showcasing the classic Jefferson Monticello design. Another area of interest for collectors is mint errors and varieties associated with the 1974 nickel. Errors can include off-center strikes, double strikes, clip planchets, and die cracks. One of the more popular types of varieties among Jefferson nickels is the double die, where elements of the design appear double due to a misalignment during the die creation process. While major double die varieties for the 1974 nickel are not extremely common, minor doubling and other die anomalies can still attract attention from specialized collectors. The condition of a 1974 5-cent coin plays a crucial role in determining its desirability. Coins that have circulated for many years often show wear on Jefferson's hair, cheek, and jawline, as well as on the steps of Monticello. Collectors pay close attention to the steps on Monticello, as full and well-defined steps are an indicator of a strong strike. Coins with full steps designation are especially sought after, as they demonstrate exceptional detail and careful striking. Finding a 1974 nickel with full steps can be challenging, making such examples more valuable. Historically, the year 1974 sits in an interesting place in U.S. history. The country was emerging from a Vietnam War era, dealing with the aftermath of the Watergate scandal, and experiencing economic uncertainty. Inflation affected the purchasing power of everyday money, and coins like the 5-cent piece were used daily by millions of Americans. Vending machines, public transportation, and small purchases relied heavily on coins, making the nickel an essential part of daily life. From a broader perspective, the 1974 Jefferson nickel represents continuity in American coinage. While many denominations have seen dramatic changes and are important for preserving the condition of a 1974 nickel, coins should be handled by the edges to avoid fingerprints, which can damage the surface over time. Storing coins in protective holders, such as coin flips or albums designed for nickels, can help prevent scratches and environmental damage. Proof coins, in particular, should be kept in their original packaging or high-quality holders to maintain their reflective surfaces. Next, we move on to the 1979 D5 coin minted at the Denver Mint. The 5 cents 1979 D coin, commonly called the 1979 D Jefferson nickel, is a United States 5-cent coin that represents a mature stage of the long-running Jefferson nickel series. By 1979, this design had already been in circulation for more than 40 years and had become one of the most familiar coins in everyday American life. Even though the coin is not rare in a general sense, it carries historical, economic, and numismatic importance that makes it interesting for collectors, historians, and people who enjoy learning about U.S. coinage. The 1979 D5 coin was produced at the Denver Mint, which is indicated by the small d mint mark on the obverse of the coin. This mint mark appears to the right of Thomas Jefferson's portrait near the date. During this period, the Denver Mint was one of the primary facilities responsible for producing large quantities of circulating coinage to meet the needs of the American economy. The late 1970s were a time of high inflation, rising costs of goods, and heavy coin usage in daily transactions, including vending machines, public transport, and small retail purchases. Because of this, the demand for nickels was strong, and production numbers were high. The composition of the 1979 D. Jefferson nickel is 75% copper and 25% nickel. This copper-nickel alloy had been standard for U.S. nickels since 1946, after the end of World War II. Earlier wartime nickels contained silver due to the need to conserve nickel for military use, but by 1979, the coin's composition was stable and designed for durability. The coin weighs 5 grams, has a diameter of 21.21 millimeters, and features a plain edge. These physical characteristics make it consistent with most modern Jefferson nickels and allow it to function smoothly in coin-operated machines. The obverse of the 1979 D nickel features a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States and one of the most influential figures in American history. Jefferson was the principal author of the Declaration of Independence and a strong advocate for individual liberty, democratic principles, and education. The portrait was designed by sculptor Felix Schlag, whose design won a competition held by the U.S. Mint in the late 1930s. Jefferson's expression on the coin is calm and thoughtful, reflecting his reputation as a philosopher, statesman, and intellectual leader. Also on the obverse is the word liberty, which appears to the right of Jefferson's portrait. Between the word liberty and the date is a small five-pointed star, a design feature that has been part of the Jefferson nickel since its introduction in 1938. The date 1979 appears clearly next to the mint mark D. Along the left edge of the obverse is the national motto, "In God We Trust," a phrase that has appeared on U.S. coins for many decades and reflects the country's cultural and historical values. The reverse side of the 1979 D 5-cent coin shows Monticello, the historic home of Thomas Jefferson located in Virginia. Monticello is one of the most famous private residences in American history and is recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Jefferson designed Monticello himself, drawing inspiration from classical European architecture while incorporating his own innovative ideas. The image on the coin shows the building's symmetrical structure, central dome, columns, and steps, all of which symbolize Jefferson's interest in architecture, science, and balanced design. Above the image of Monticello on the reverse is the word Monticello, identifying the building. Below it is a denomination, 5 cents, clearly stating the coin's value. Along the bottom rim of the reverse is the inscription, United States of America. This reverse design, also created by Felix Schlag, remained in use from 1938 until 2004, making it one of the longest-lasting designs in U.S. coinage history. By 1979, the Monticello reverse had become iconic and instantly recognizable. The mintage of the 1979 D. Jefferson nickel was very large, with hundreds of millions of coins struck. Because of this high production, the coin is considered common in circulated condition. Many examples entered circulation immediately and were used extensively in everyday commerce. As a result, most 1979 D nickels found today show signs of wear, especially on the high points of the design such as Jefferson's hair, cheek, and jawline on the obverse, and the steps and columns of Monticello on the reverse. In terms of value, the 1979 D 5-cent coin is generally worth face value in worn or heavily circulated condition. However, coins that remain in uncirculated condition can be worth more, particularly to collectors assembling complete date and mint mark sets of Jefferson nickels. Uncirculated coins are those that show no signs of wear and retain their original mint luster. The brighter the luster and the fewer the marks or scratches, the more desirable the coin becomes. One of the most important factors collectors look for in Jefferson nickels is the quality of the strike, especially on the steps of Monticello. The steps are located at the base of the building on the reverse and are often weakly struck or worn away. Coins with clearly defined and uninterrupted steps are sometimes designated as full steps by professional grading services. A 1979 D nickel with full steps is much scarcer than a typical example and can command a significantly higher premium, especially in higher mint state grades. The Denver Mint was known for producing strong strikes on some coins, but finding a 1979 D nickel with perfect or near-perfect steps is still challenging. Collectors who specialize in Jefferson nickels often search through rolls or mint sets in hopes of finding such high-quality examples. These coins are prized not because of low mintage, but because of the difficulty in finding them with exceptional detail. Another area of interest for collectors is mint errors and varieties. While the 1979 D. Jefferson nickel does not have any extremely famous or widely recognized major varieties, minor errors do exist. These include off-center strikes, die cracks, clip planchets, weak strikes, and minor double dies. Error coins are created during the minting process and can vary widely in appearance and value. The more dramatic and clearly visible the error, the more appealing it tends to be to collectors. The 1979 D 5-cent coin also reflects the broader economic and social environment of the late 1970s. The United States was dealing with inflation, energy shortages, and changes in consumer behavior. Coins like the nickel were essential for small transactions, and their purchasing power was gradually decreasing due to rising prices. Despite this, the nickel remained an important unit of currency, used daily by millions of people. From a historical standpoint, the 1979 D. Jefferson nickel represents continuity rather than change. Unlike some other denominations that underwent redesigns or composition changes, the nickel maintained the same basic look and metal content. This consistency made it reliable in uncirculated or near uncirculated condition. Coins should always be handled by the edges to avoid leaving fingerprints, which can damage the surface over time. Storing coins in protective holders, such as coin flips, capsules, or albums made from nickels, helps protect them from scratches, moisture, and environmental damage. Now, let's talk about the 1987 P5 coin struck at the Philadelphia Mint. The 5 cents 1987 P coin, widely known as the 1987 P. Jefferson nickel, is a United States 5-cent coin that belongs to the long-running Jefferson nickel series. By the late 1980s, this coin had already become a deeply familiar part of everyday American life, yet it still reflected the economic conditions, minting practices, and design traditions of its time. Although it is generally considered a common coin, the 1987 P nickel holds important historical and numismatic interest, especially for collectors who study modern U.S. coinage in detail. The 1987 P 5-cent coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Coins from Philadelphia traditionally do not carry a mint mark on most denominations, including the nickel, and this absence of a mint mark identifies the coin as a Philadelphia issue. During the 1980s, the Philadelphia Mint was one of the primary producers of circulating coinage in the United States, supplying enormous quantities of coins to meet the needs of commerce. The year 1987 was a period of relative economic stability compared to the turbulent 1970s, and coins like the nickel were heavily used in daily transactions, such as vending machines, parking meters, and public transportation. The composition of the 1987 P. Jefferson nickel is a standard copper-nickel alloy used for U.S. nickels since 1946. It is made of 75% copper and 25% nickel, a blend chosen for its durability and resistance to wear. The coin weighs 5 grams and has a diameter of 21.21 millimeters, with a plain edge. These specifications allowed the coin to function reliably in coin-operated machines and ensure consistency with earlier and later issues of the Jefferson nickel. The obverse of the 1987 P 5-cent coin features a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States and one of the most influential figures in American history. Jefferson was the principal author of the Declaration of Independence and a strong supporter of liberty, education, and democratic ideals. The portrait was designed by Felix Schlag, whose design was selected by the U.S. Mint in 1938. Even in 1987, nearly 50 years after its introduction, Schlag's portrait remained in use, showing Mint's commitment to tradition and continuity. On the obverse, the word liberty appears to the right of Jefferson's profile. A small star separates the word liberty from the date 1987, which is also positioned on the right side coin. Along the left edge of the obverse is the national motto, "In God We Trust." The design is simple, balanced, and easy to recognize, which was an important consideration for circulating coinage used daily by millions of people. The reverse of the 1987 P nickel depicts Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's historic home in Virginia. Monticello is an architectural landmark designed by Jefferson himself and reflects his interest in classical design, science, and innovation. The image on the coin shows the building's symmetrical structure, central dome, and columns, symbolizing Jefferson's lasting legacy beyond politics. Above the building is the word Monticello, while below it appears the denomination 5 cents. Along the bottom rim is the inscription, United States of America. This Monticello reverse design, also created by Felix Schlag, had been in continuous use since 1938 and would remain until 2004. By 1987, it was one of the most recognizable coin designs in the United States. Its long-term use makes the Jefferson Nickel series especially appealing to collectors, as it allows for detailed comparison of strike quality, luster, and wear across many decades. The mintage of the 1987 P5-cent coin was very high, with hundreds of millions of coins produced. Because of this large production, the coin is considered common in circulated condition. Many examples entered circulation immediately and experienced heavy use. As a result, most 1987 P nickels found today show visible wear, especially on Jefferson's hair, cheek, and jawline on the obverse, and on the steps and columns of Monticello on the reverse. In terms of value, the 1987 P Jefferson nickel is typically worth face value when found in worn or circulated condition. However, coins that have never been circulated and still retain their original mint luster can be worth more to collectors. Uncirculated examples are often obtained from mint sets or carefully preserved rolls. The condition of the coin plays a major role in determining its desirability, with higher-grade coins commanding stronger interest. One of the most important features collectors look for in Jefferson nickels is the quality of the strike, particularly on the steps of Monticello. The steps at the base of the building are often weak or incomplete due to strike quality or wear. Coins that show fully separated and well-defined steps are sometimes given a full steps designation by professional grading services. A 1987 P nickel with full steps is significantly scarcer than a typical circulated example and can be much more valuable, especially in high mint state grades. The Philadelphia Mint is known for producing a wide range of strike qualities, and while some 1987 P nickels can show good detail, finding one with perfect or near-perfect steps remains challenging. This makes the search for high-quality examples an exciting pursuit for collectors who specialize in Jefferson nickels. Mint errors and minor varieties also add interest to the 1987 P5-cent coin. Possible errors include off-center strikes, die cracks, clip planchets, weak strikes, and minor double dies. These errors occur during the minting process and can vary widely in appearance and value. While the 1987 P nickel does not have any extremely famous major varieties, well-defined error coins are still collected and appreciated by numismatists. The 1987 P Jefferson nickel also reflects the broader cultural and economic environment of the late 1980s. During this time, the United States was experiencing technological growth and changing consumer habits, but coins remain an essential part of everyday transactions. The nickel, despite its relatively low purchasing power, was still widely used and necessary for many small payments. From a collective perspective, the 1987 P5-cent coin represents accessibility and tradition. It is easy to obtain, affordable, and rich in historical context. Beginners can use this coin to learn about grading standards, mint marks, and strike quality, while advanced collectors may focus on finding high-grade or full-steps examples to complete specialized sets. Proper care and storage are important for preserving a 1987 P nickel, particularly if it is in uncirculated condition. Coins should always be handled by the edges to avoid fingerprints and surface damage. Storing the coin in a protective holder, such as a coin flip capsule or album designed for nickels, helps protect it from scratches, moisture, and environmental exposure. Finally, we come to the 1991 D5-cents coin, another Denver Mint issue. The 5-cents 1991 D coin, commonly known as the 1991 D Jefferson nickel, is a United States 5-cent coin that represents the later years of the classic Jefferson Monticello design. By 1991, this coin had been part of everyday American life for more than half a century, yet it continued to play an important role in daily commerce and in the world of coin collecting. Although it is not considered rare in most conditions, the 1991 D nickel carries historical, economic, and numismatic significance that makes it worth understanding in detail. The 1991 D5-cent coin was struck at the Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark located on the obverse to the right of Thomas Jefferson's portrait near the date. During the early 1990s, the Denver Mint was one of the main facilities producing circulating coins for the United States. The U.S. economy at this time was experiencing changes related to the end of the Cold War and a mild recession, yet coins such as a nickel were still heavily used in vending machines, parking meters, payphones, and everyday purchases. High demand for circulating coins resulted in large production numbers for the 1991 D nickel. The composition of the 1991 D. Jefferson nickel is a standard copper-nickel alloy used for U.S. nickels since 1946. It consists of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This metal combination was chosen for its durability, resistance to corrosion, and suitability for long-term circulation. The coin weighs 5 grams, measures 21.21 millimeters in diameter, and has a plain edge. These physical characteristics match those of most modern Jefferson nickels and allowed the coin to function reliably in coin-operated machines. On the obverse of the 1991 D5-cent coin is the left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States and one of the most influential figures in American history. Jefferson was the principal author of the Declaration of Independence and a strong advocate of liberty, education, and democratic ideals. The portrait was designed by sculptor Felix Schlag and was first introduced in 1938. By 1991, this portrait had become one of the most recognizable images in U.S. coinage, symbolizing tradition and continuity. Also on the obverse appears the word liberty, positioned to the right of Jefferson's profile. A small star separates the word liberty from the date 1991. The mint mark D appears near the date, confirming that the coin was produced at the Denver Mint. Along the left rim of the obverse is the national motto, "In God We Trust." The overall design is balanced and clear, making it practical for a coin intended for heavy circulation. The reverse of the 1991 D. Jefferson nickel features Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's historic home in Virginia. Monticello is an iconic symbol of Jefferson's architectural skill and intellectual curiosity. The building was designed by Jefferson himself and reflects his interest in classical architecture and symmetry. On the coin, Monticello is shown with its central dome, columns, and steps. Above the building is the word Monticello, while below it is a denomination 5 cents. Along the bottom rim is the inscription, United States of America. This Monticello reverse design, also created by Felix Schlag, had been used continuously since 1938 and will remain in use until 2004. By the early 1990s, it had become one of the longest-running designs in U.S. coin history. Its extended use allows collectors to study changes in strike quality, die wear, and minting technology over many decades. The mintage of the 1991 D5-cent coin was very high, with hundreds of millions of coins struck. Because of this large production, the coin is considered common in circulated condition. Many examples were released directly into circulation and saw heavy use, resulting in noticeable wear. Common areas of wear include Jefferson's hair, cheek, and jawline on the obverse, as well as the steps and columns of Monticello on the reverse. In terms of value, the 1991 D. Jefferson nickel is usually worth face value when found in circulated condition. However, uncirculated examples can be worth more, especially collectors who are building complete date and mint mark sets. Coins that retain their original mint luster, sharp details, and minimal marks are more desirable. Higher grade coins are often obtained from mint sets or carefully preserved rolls. One of the most important features collectors look for in Jefferson nickels is the quality of the strike on the steps of Monticello. The steps are often weakly struck or worn, making fully detailed steps relatively scarce. Coins that display clearly defined and uninterrupted steps may receive a full steps designation from professional grading services. A 1991 D nickel with full steps is significantly rarer than a typical example and can command a higher premium, especially in mint state grades. Mint errors and minor varieties also add interest to the 1991 D5-cent coin. Possible errors include off-center strikes, clip planchets, die cracks, weak strikes, and minor double dies. These errors occur during the minting process and can vary in appearance and value. While no extremely famous major varieties are associated with the 1991 D nickel, visually strong and well-preserved error coins are still sought after by collectors. The 1991 D. Jefferson nickel reflects the broader cultural and economic environment of the early 1990s. Even as electronic payments and credit cards were becoming more common, coins remained essential for many everyday transactions. The nickel, despite its modest value, was still widely used and necessary in daily life. For collectors, the 1991 D5-cent coin offers accessibility and educational value. Beginners can easily obtain examples and learn about grading, mint marks, and strike quality. More advanced collectors may focus on high-grade specimens, full-step examples, or interesting errors to enhance their collections. The coin's connection to Thomas Jefferson and its place within a long-standing design series add historical depth to its appeal. Proper care is important for preserving a 1991 D nickel, especially if it is in uncirculated condition. Coins should be handled only by the edges to avoid fingerprints and surface damage. Storing the coin in protective holders, such as coin flips, capsules, or albums, help protect it from moisture, scratches, and environmental exposure. In conclusion, the 1974, 1979 D, 1987 P, and 1991 D5 cents coins may seem ordinary at first glance, but each one tells a story about its time, its mint, and the people who use it every day. Whether you are a beginner or an experienced collector, keeping an eye on condition, strike quality, and preservation can turn simple pocket change into a meaningful part of your collection. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about valuable coins, rare errors, and U.S. coin history, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.